Hello everyone and welcome to the second game we'll be showing from the Freestyle Chess Go to Challenge 2024, Nodirbek Abdusattorov versus World Classical Champion Ding Liren. Now Nodirbek had nothing short of a sensational event in the qualifications for the main event. He won first place with 5.5 points. It was 2 days of rapid chess, also chess 960, and he finished with 5.5 out of 7, whereas Ding really struggled and he lost all of the games except one that ended in a draw. And since Nodirbek won first place, Ding won second, they meet up for the first match in the quarterfinals of this event. And let's check it out. It's going to be two classical games. Nodirbek has the white pieces in the first one, and he opens with pawn to e4. Ding replies with pawn to b5. In the Magnus Alireza game, we had e4, e5, b4, b5, but here we have e4, b5, b4, and knight to f6 by Ding. We have pawn to d3. Sorry about that. And pawn to e5, also opening up the bishop, opening up the black queen. Knight to h3, much like Alireza, preparing castles, and pawn to f4 in some lines. We have pawn to d5 striking in the center. And now you could go for some sort of a weird Folkbeer setup with pawn to f4, but here e captures on d5 right away. We have knight captures, queen captures on e5, so it was a pawn sacrifice by Ding for some activity. Queen captures and bishop captures on e5. Castles, and now bishop to f3, putting pressure on the knight, and if the knight moves, of course, you can just trade off the light square bishops. So rook e8 attacks the bishop, bishop to d4, and now bishop to e7. So let's see what Ding had in mind with this pawn sacrifice. Nodirbek goes for a capture. Here he does give up the bishop for knight. Bishop captures on d5. Bishop captures and knight to f4. Now brings the knight to a more central square, attacks the bishop. Bishop back to c6, and now bishop to c5 offers a trade of bishops. Now, well, you could trade here and sort of mess up white's pawn structure, double up the c pawns. It's not all that impressive. That pawn on c5 is very strong. It's preventing the knight from being developed, and you will later on have d4, d5, and will have a great position. So instead, after bishop c5, we have bishop to g5, attacking the knight, and now knight c to e2, defending the knight on f4, knight to b6, and now pawn to h4. Still, okay, you have the bishop pair, but now if you wanted to preserve the bishop pair, you would have to play something like bishop to f6, and then you have to go into this weird line of knight h5, attacks the bishop, and then bishop captures on g2, check, captures, and then you also lose the bishop on f6 with check. And okay, equal material, but you have a doubled f pawn here, so white will definitely be better. So Ding decides it's better to trade right away. Bishop captures on f4, knight captures, and now rook to a8. So the knight can move, the a7 pawn is defended, but also you will have support for a5 if needed. We have rook to h3, very nice rook lift. You can even shift the rook into the attack or even put it on e3. Knight to d5, offering a trade of knights, and Nodirbek trades. We have captures, and now pawn to a3, and now pawn to a5, just striking against the b4 pawn. We have b captures on a5, rook captures on a5, and now rook to e3, offering a rook trade. And now the rook is hanging, and you can't really play king to f8. So your choice here is to capture on e3 or to move the rook. Now capturing on e3 is the best way to go, but then you improve white's pawn structure even more. And yeah, okay, you can play pawn to f6, e4 is coming, the king is coming into the game, and it will be a better position for white, but black can defend. But Ding decided to go rook to c8. He didn't want to improve Nodirbek's pawn structure in the center, and now Nodirbek continues pushing. Pawn to h5. We have pawn to h6 and pawn to f3, pawn to c6, and now king to f2. Rook to a4. We have pawn to g4. You don't want to allow rook to h4 to go after the h5 pawn. So g4 defending on h5, and now pawn to f5, putting pressure on the g4 pawn. Pawn to c4. Beautiful move by Nodirbek, just putting pressure on the bishop. And the strongest move here is, as usual, the most obvious one, but it doesn't, feel like you should be playing it. The strongest move is b captures on c4. But that just means you're allowing Nodirbek to double rooks on the 7th rank, and it sure doesn't look like you can defend this. However, Ding did have 35 minutes on the clock. He just played this incredibly quickly, and maybe he should have invested a bit more time. The point is that after rook to b7, of course now after rook e7 and captures on g7 is the idea. So you have to clear the g8 square for the rook, and now after rook e to e7 you will play rook to g8, and now okay, bishop to e3 with the threat of bishop captures on h6, captures and rook h7 checkmate. But you don't care. C captures on d3, and after bishop captures on h6, you will play d2. It's a very long forcing line, but it was the only way to go for Ding, so it's a classical game. That's why I'm showing it. Now you don't have time to capture here. You can't trade off a pair of rooks. If you trade off a pair of rooks, then you're out of checkmating material. And captures with check also doesn't give you anything. If you capture with the bishop, just rook captures on g7, and okay, you can pick up the rook, but then d1 becomes a queen. And with the g8 square covered by the bishop, you don't even have enough resources for a perpetual. So what you would have to do after d2 is just capture that pawn with bishop captures on d2, and now rook captures on a3, going after the f3 pawn. And that's pretty much it. If g5 is too slow, and if you go for h6 right away, then rook captures on f3 check, king e1, and now f captures, or even better, king to e1, and after captures on g4, rook captures on g7, but now you don't have enough resources. Rook captures, and that's pretty much it. You have all the necessary resources for a draw. Bishop to c3 is impossible to threaten some nasty ideas, as the rook covers the c3 square. So that's the way to go. But you know, good luck calculating that. However, it is a classical game. You do have 35 minutes on the clock, so maybe, you know, investing time in that is the way to go. But the Ding played bishop back to f7, and he invested maybe a minute calculating this position. He just completely decided against bishop captures on c4. He went bishop to c7, and now g captures on f5. Nodirbek opens up the g file for his rook, and now b captures on c4. Here, the last possibility was to capture on h5, but he goes for the move that he should have played a move ago, and now it is Nodirbek to win here, and I'm sure you guys know what he played even without pausing the video. Of course, it is rook to g1. You could also play pawn to f6, which is what Nodirbek did, but rook to g1 and f6, or f6 followed by rook to g1, as they are unstoppable. So pawn to f6, we have c captures on d3, and now rook to g1, ignoring the d pawn altogether. We have pawn to d2, and now rook captures on g7 with check. Ding played king to h8. You cannot capture the bishop, otherwise the d pawn becomes a queen. But Nodirbek not in a rush, just rook to d3, putting the rook behind the passed pawn. Bishop to d5, getting the bishop out of harm's way, and now bishop to d4. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful. F7 is coming, and there's no way you can stop that. So Ding did try bishop captures on f3. It's a very cool try. Point being that if you capture with the rook, then you can promote the pawn right away, and if you capture with the king, then rook captures on a3. You sacrifice the rook to advance the pawn to a queen, or if the king tries defending, you will capture the rook, and now you cannot capture, otherwise the pawn just promotes, so you'll have to block, and then you also lose the bishop, and then black is the one who's winning. But Nodirbek, not one to be tricked easily, just picks up the passed pawn, rook captures on d2, and there's nothing more for Ding to try. He played bishop captures on h5, but now bishop to e5. He wants to make sure that rook captures on d4 is not even an option, and now f7 is coming. That will allow Nodirbek all sorts of nasty discoveries. So rook to g4 was played, but now rook to e7. Avoiding the trade, king to g8, and now rook d to d7. We have rook to f8, now comes rook to g7 with check. You can't go for f7 right away because then you close off your rook, so it's better to trade off a pair of rooks first. King to h8, rook captures on g4, bishop captures, and rook to g7, going after the bishop, and f7, of course, is the next move, with bishop to e6, and now pawn to e7. Doesn't matter that it's attacked twice. Once the rook moves, it's also going to be checked, so you're going to lose that. Bishop captures and f7 is played, but other moves don't really help you. What else can you play? If you push a pawn, pretty much anything, just rook to g6 check wins the bishop, so you're going to lose a piece whatever you play. So he decided to take the pawn at least. Rook captures on f7 opens up a discovery. We have king to g8, and now rook captures on f8, king captures, and pawn to a4. Now, okay, it's Nodirbek is up a full bishop, but if the king can reach the corner, it's a light square. You're not going to be able to win the game. It doesn't matter It doesn't matter how many pawns you have on the a-file. If you have a dark square bishop and the black king occupies the corner square, which is a light square, it's gonna be a draw. Everyone knows that, and the problem for Ding is Nodirbek also knows that. So king to e7 was played, pawn to a5, and now king to d7. We have pawn to a6 and king to c8. And now Ding's only hope was for Nodirbek to play pawn to a7, but of course he didn't. He played king to e3, and he was in this position on move 45 that Ding Liren resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So Ding loses the first game, Nodirbek wins the first one. There's also the second one. If Ding gets a win there, then they go into tiebreak. So we'll see if Ding can bounce back. So far, this is game 8, and Ding still without a win. His 7th loss in the event. Like I said, he only got 1 draw, so not doing spectacularly. We'll see if he can recover with the white pieces. But yeah, if you push the pawn, then look at this. There's after king to b7, the king just goes to a8, and you don't even need the pawns. It's a draw. But with the pawn here, the pawn covers b7, the bishop covers b8. There's no way for the black king to advance the a8 square. And if you try to go the other way around, just a7, and then you are too far away to stop the advancement of the pawn. So yeah, very nicely done by Nodirbek, taking down world champion Ding Liren like this in classical setting in Chess 960. I would like to thank David Benz, Peter Albert, Robert Arathun, Doug Repka, and Baby Solomon, and David Gasparian for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but mostly just covering the Freestyle Chess Go Challenge 2024. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.